I'd like to call the July 18th Board of Commissioners meeting to order. First order of business is invocation by our County Manager, Ms. Sharon Griffin.
Thank you and good evening, Chairman Bright and Commissioners. Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this opportunity to come before you and conduct the business of Onslow County. Lord, be with the commissioners in their deliberations and bless them with wisdom and guidance as they address the items on tonight's agenda. Bless our citizens, first responders, and those defending our nation. May all we do this day bring you honor and glory. Now, with deep respect and reverence for the faiths, beliefs, and traditions of those gathered here tonight, join me in a moment of silence. Amen.
Our Assistant County Manager, Ms. Sherry Slater, will lead us in the pledge. Please stand.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Elected officials here tonight is Sheriff Miller, Onslow County Sheriff, Alderman Dick Grant from North Topsail Beach. Thank you, sir, for being here. We also have in attendance tonight Chief Mike DeNiro from Jacksonville Police Department. Thank you, sir. And also Colonel Chris Thomas from the Onslow County Sheriff's Office here tonight. Thank you for being here. We have quite a long agenda tonight, so we may be from time to time taking a recess for a short break, so bear with us with that. We ask all that's in attendance to please set your cell phone to silent or vibrate mode. The board offers the public one opportunity to speak during the meeting. Comments should be limited to no more than 5 minutes and may be on any issue upon which the Board of Commissioners has control. In accordance with the board's adopted rules of procedure, commissioners shall reserve responses, if any, for the commissioner's comment period on the agenda, and that's at the end of the meeting. I now will entertain a motion to adopt the meeting agenda.
Mr. Chair, motion to remove item 6L, general item.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye. Motion to approve the agenda as amended.
So moved.
All in favor of the amended agenda signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Item number 2 is approval of the items on the consent agenda. Is there any item any commissioner would like to have removed for discussion later?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, item C, Advisory Board Membership Policy Update.
Okay, we will put that on the back of the agenda at the end of the meeting. All in favor of the consent agenda, or I need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor of the motion to approve the consent agenda signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carries. We're now at item 3. Ms. Griffin, do we have people signed up?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. We have 6 citizen speakers this evening that have signed up for public comment. Before I call our first speaker to the podium, I would like to remind everyone that you have exactly 5 minutes to address any issue upon which the board has control. Citizen speakers will be acknowledged in the order in which you signed up. Please repeat your name and your address as you come up to the podium before you begin speaking. Discussions between speakers and members of the audience are not permitted. Please use professional language when you speak. Speakers should address the board as a whole and not individual members. And please keep in mind that board members do not respond during public comment period, but rather at the end of the meeting during commissioners' comments. We welcome you to this public comment period, and at this time I'd like to call our first speaker, and forgive me if I'm not reading your name correctly, Mr. Michael Noreski of 201 Pigeon Lane.
Good evening, thank you. Only if we understand, we can care. Only if we care, we can help. SAMIS, the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Overseer for the United States in 2020, stated that we need 4,693 more peer supports to handle our overabundance of mental health and addiction problems in the United States. SAMIS also stated peers advocate for people with addiction and mental health issues, while giving the support that is needed for individuals to succeed and make changes in their lives. The National Institute of Drug Abuse states 85% of individuals will relapse within 1 year of a treatment center due to a lack of aftercare. In the last 75 days here in Onslow County alone, by numbers from our paramedics, 101 individuals had to receive Narcan from overdoses. That means as we stand here today, maybe 2 people are getting that Narcan. Our county, and I say our county, was just listed the 72nd worst in North Carolina in human behavioral health. My name is Michael Noreski. I am a North Carolina certified peer support specialist. I am part of the Behavioral Health Springboard Initiative at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. I also happen to be a national peer support specialist. I am certified in adult mental health first aid. I also was just asked to be part of, from this state of North Carolina, there's 50 of us, on the National Justice Peer Support Council for Reentry, which is sponsored by SAMIS. I'm also honored to state this one thing, that with special consideration, the city of Jacksonville asked me to come in August to teach about what we do in CIT training. The one thing is I come here for is for the people of the county of Onslow and where we're missing things. I wish to tell you something that's important. My little nonprofit, my money, we receive no fundings from anyone, but it's become too big and too burdensome for us. Division of Social Services, Onslow County, Department of Health, Jacksonville Treatment Center, multiple churches, the city of Jacksonville, the Dick Center, Town Center ownership, Philippians Place, and even FEMA call us on a daily basis to ask them to give them peer support help. We're paying for it. They're getting support. We need the help of the county. The numbers are rising, and they're rising rapidly. We're losing people faster than we can even bury them in some cases. Peer supports build bridges. We fill gaps, okay? We're not clinicians, but we hear what the clinicians are saying, and we put them into action. We make sure people get to where they need to be. A peer support should not be in a building behind a desk. Peer supports are like the medics of the old. You will find us on the front porches, the back porches. You will find us on the steps of people's houses. You will find us in your kitchen table, and you will find us in the woods of Onslow because we're there twice a week, supporting individuals with mental health and substance abuse. I just received documentation from Trillium today that 35,000 people are on Medicaid in the state, in Onslow County, of which 24,000 of them under Trillium are there because of an abundance of a mental health disparity and addiction. 24,000 in Onslow alone. And that's only their number. 1/5 of the people they report in Onslow County admit to excessive drinking. You know, when you take a rat, they say if you corner it, it'll leap at you. If you take someone with mental disparities in their life and you take away certain things from them, they're going to look for avenues to help themselves. Unfortunately, that avenue is some sort of a form to make them feel better, whether that's alcohol or opioids. We cannot continue to do these things in this manner. We believe in one thing. We believe in human capital. We know you hold the purses for the infrastructure of this county. Well, the humans that are here tonight are part of that infrastructure. Remember, they are mothers, brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, cousins, nieces, and nephews. They are constituents, and they are people that we have an obligation to take care of. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Noreski. Our next speaker is Miss Amanda King of 122 Davis Street.
Hello, my name is Amanda King. When I met my friend Mike and his team, I was in what I considered to be a broken place. I was depressed, on 12 medications a day, and in and out of psychiatric hospitals. I had lost 3 family members in a 6-month span and had lost connection to most of my family due to being in a group home outside of Fayetteville. So when I met Mr. Mike, I can honestly say I felt completely hopeless and torn apart, and I was told that I was a burden. Over the last 31 years of my life, I had very little care for my emotions and was bullied relentlessly, on top of self-harming to get the attention of my family, which in turn was not the best route to take. I met Mr. Mike on June 17, 2020, when he picked me up from the local psychiatric dog pound, commonly referred to as hospital. He told me that it would be my last time ever being treated that way and that I was finally on the road to a better me. I remember when I met him and he told me that I was allowing the people in my life that didn't care for me. I allowed them to get inside of my head, and I thought to myself, oh no, not another peer support specialist. I had been through the ringer with so many therapists and doctors, I was ready to give up on ever finding a care for myself. Since meeting my friends, I have made the decision on August 21st, 2020 to change my life for the better and commit my life through Jesus Christ. October 28, 2020 was my last day self-harming, and I couldn't be more proud to say that today I am 628 days free from any form of cutting or burning. I came off all but one of my medications. I have not been admitted to a dog pound in over 2 years, which is by far the longest I have ever gone. I currently work as a salesperson at Dollar General, and after not driving for 3.5 years, I got my license back on April 16, 2021. I have made several presentations, including one that was an incredibly special moment in mine and Mr. Mike's life, along with many of our friends. Back in December, I presented a flag through my local Rotary Club, in which Mr. Mike knew nothing about, and we were able to commit to keeping a secret from him for 4 months. Having a peer support specialist as a friend is not always going to be easy. What I can tell you is that Mr. Mike and Virgil have taken me under their wing, and I know in my heart and my soul that they will never leave me, and they will always be there for me to either push me or prod me along the way and even give me a kick in the shin sometimes. You Empower You would greatly benefit from this transition, not only in their personal lives, also in the professional lives as a North Carolina State certified peer support specialist, as well as a nationally certified peer recovery support specialist. And I am honored and blessed to have a part in their lives and for them to be a part of my life as both friends and fatherly figures. I have desperately craved the attention of my father, who is an alcoholic. So I know what it's like to have that non-existent relationship. And I ask you to speak from your heart and listen, because when you listen, you can hear people, not the other way. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. King. Our next speaker this evening is Ms. Joyce Mason of 2284 Onslow Drive.
Can this move down some? Hi, my name is Joyce Mason. I live at 2284 Onslow Drive, and that's in Town Center's apartment. When I met Mr. Mike, he was helping other people. The time I lived in Town Center apartment, we had nowhere to go. We asked people to help us, nobody helped us. Him and Virgil came and visited me one day in my apartment, and he told me, he said, I'm gonna help you. He helped me get out of the mold and everything. And I got kind of mental a little bit, and when I need something, I always go to him and ask him what to do. He tells me what to do. I have nobody else to go to, nobody, no help. So he's my help. Him and Virgin them is my help. He took me to the mental. I went to him one day. I said, Mr. Mike, I think I'm having a little mental problem. He said, fine, we're gonna fix that. He took me to detox, the place over there called Port Help. He went with me in there. I wasn't ashamed to tell what was going on. He went with me, he stayed with me the whole time I was in there. Now, when I go there, you know what they ask me? Is your friend with you today? I said, no, he's not with me. I've been going to him for 4 months now. Because of him, he got me the help. His company got me the help. And that's all I can say. We've been through hell, but I thank God we're here now, and I'm getting help. I'm on the right medication and everything, so I thank him and his company. That's all I got to say.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Ms. Mason. Our next speaker is Ms. Corinne Parker of 2295 Onslow Drive.
Good afternoon. My name is Corinne Parker, and I live at 2295 Onslow Drive in New River. The first time I met Mr. Mike and Mr. Virgil was when I lived on York Street. He came to my husband to get help. My husband needed help. He came to see my husband get help him. And he helped my husband. My husband was a shy one. He wouldn't even open up to me. We and him have been married for 42 years. He wouldn't even open up to me. But when Mr. Mike come on board, Mr. Mike got him wide open to him. And then my husband passed. And Mr. Mike didn't stop coming because he passed. He came right on to see me. And after my husband passed, I was in a fix. I was in a mess. And Mr. Mike, and I moved in New River. And Mr. Mike came to see me, and he see that I needed help bad. He said, Miss Parker, I'm gonna get you some help. He said, Carl, you need some mental help. I said, Mr. Mike, yes, I do. I said, because I'm about to lose my mind. He said, I see that. And I know that. He would take me every time to my appointment. He would go in. He would sit there with me and the therapist and talk to the therapist about me. He would wait for me, take me back home, take me out to eat, and then he'll take me on back home. And then the next time he would come, he'd call me, Miss Parker, you know you got an appointment, mental health appointment. I said, yes, I'm ready. But he would make sure I got my medicine, the right medicine from the mental health people. And he made sure after they turned me loose, but he said he think I need to go back. And I do feel like I need to start back again because of everything they have been going in New River for all these months. It's about to run me crazy again. But he has stuck with us through thick and thin, even in New River, through everything we have had to go through. He's been there, him and brother and his company have been there for us. He have not letting us down. And he makes sure we get food, transportation, whatever we need. He makes sure his company is there for us to make sure we got it. And I don't know where we would be in New River if it weren't for him, Virgil, and his company. When we were threatened to be thrown out in the streets, nowhere to go, didn't know where we would go. And I tell you, I had a nervous breakdown behind that. Yes, I did. But he was right there to pick us up. And I thank God for him. I wouldn't take nothing in the world from him. They're good people, loving, kind people, helpful people, sharing people, and giving up themselves. And I just want to say, tell them thank you for all you have done for us in New River. Thank you so much. We can't thank you enough. At least we got a shelter over our head now. We don't have to go to bed worried about if it's gonna have to be thrown out that night, next morning or when. God, that took something out of everybody out there for a long time. But now we can rest at peace. Thank God. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Ms. Parker. Our next speaker is Mr. Virgil Blizzard of 117 Poplar Ridge Road.
Good evening. I'm Virgil Blizzard from 117 Poplar Ridge Road. I have some handouts. Who should I give these to? I am the COO of You Empower You. I'm that guy behind the curtain that keeps the gears running. I think it's important to explain how Mike and I met in the birthing of You Empower You. We met at Celebrate Recovery. After about a year, we went through step studies, which is a very intensive program to go over. We could actually start our own Celebrate Recovery chapter if we wish. But Mike had told me about this thing called peer support. I had no idea what it was. I was thinking social work, something of that nature. We all know the ABCs, agencies out there. That's what I had in mind. But I kept asking questions. Mike would tell me. I had my own business in Washington, D.C. area for 37 years. I was comfortably retired for 13 years. Well, I said, Mike, I'm interested. Maybe I can do 10 or 15 hours a week. But I want to ride along with you to see exactly what you do. I met all of Mike's cases. What I saw, this huge gap. Brick and mortar does a wonderful job at what they do. Hospitals, EDs, various treatment centers, social workers at DSS. But they're brick and mortar. The gap is what happens as people leave those brick and mortar institutions. Even though they do a wonderful job, what happens? We meet them there. You heard some of the individuals that benefited from our services. I think it's important to understand what peer supports are. We're some mystical creatures walking the earth providing services. I'll give you some examples of what we do. We go and sit across at the kitchen table. We have a saying, we don't listen, we hear from our hearts what they need. We will go with them to doctor's appointments. We all know the white coat syndrome. We all face it. We go in there, we freeze because we have this doctor there. We're there to advocate for them. We go with the specialist. We will go to the surgeons. We are often the last person they see before they go in the operating room and the next person they see when they come out. We're with them in rehab. We will go and work with the social worker to ensure they're getting the treatment and the length of time they need. But you see, it's the gap. Part of Celebrate Recovery, the last step is grace. You give back to the community. We are here being blessed to have the capability of being service to others. I'll give you 2 quick examples. In Dick Center, I had one of my cases in there, 66 years old, 35 years in prison, 50 years as an addict. While I was there, I sat in the office, arranged to get him to long-term treatment, called Philippians House. We worked closely, wonderful organizations. They picked him up from Dick straight to long-term treatment. No more than 2 hours ago, at 4 o'clock, I got a call from Dick's. Individuals getting discharged had made arrangements for long-term care. $63 bus ticket. They could not fund because he was going out of county. Asked for our help. Within 15 minutes, I had ranged to the Salvation Army with the new captain, which we met last week. The man has a $63 bus ticket. $63 kept him from going to treatment. Now he did. We are here asking for support. We can't do it on our own anymore. So please, listen and hear what we need. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Blizzard. Our final speaker this evening for public comment period is Reverend Malcolm Batts of 289 South Blizzard Town Road.
Good evening, everyone. Reverend Malcolm Batts, 289 South Blizzard Town Road, Beulahville, North Carolina. Don't get upset when I say Beulahville, because my ministry is also in Onslow County, which a lot of people know. I grew up in Jacksonville, North Carolina. Went to Clyde Irwin School. Knew New River real well, Townsend area. I'm sad the way it's gone down. I'm sad what the people are going through. But my heart is lightened because of people like Mike, people like Virgil. I mean, Councilman Jackson. Even Royce has helped out. We fed the homeless there. I was asked to feed the homeless there by Ministry Service Tabernacle Ministry on Memorial Day. Came out there with a pig picker, fed over 300-something people, but Mr. Noreski, Virgil, Brian Jackson, even Royce, all of us, we chipped in and got everybody fed. I was a man growing up, I didn't have much heart. I was in and out of the justice system. I was just a mess. Matter of fact, up to 10 years, I've been home now about 10 years, established a ministry, registered with the state. I'm on so many boards in North Carolina, it's a shame, but I thank God for that. But what I do know is people need a hand up. People need to know that you care. Of course, I'm a pastor, I'm a preacher, but I do most of my preaching outside. Like Mike said, boots on the ground. It's out in the communities. Now, I service 4 communities by ministry, and I just installed another pastor here to take over some of this at Onslow County. But with that, it's something about the area, and I guess because it's home to me, that I want to still remain giving back to Onslow County as I service everybody else. And I can say about Mike, Virgil, these guys are relentless in the work they do. And when he say in the woods, I know he be in the woods. I know where those woods at. I've been out there. When he said in the house, I have so many people calling me. Have you talked to Mr. Mike? Can I get in touch with Mr. Mike? Mr. Mike was sick not long ago, and I had to tell him all, give his phone a rest. He's sick. I can't even call him, you know. But there's so much that could be done that's positive. But as y'all know, I'm like Mr. Mike, Service Tabernacle Ministry. I'm like Apostle Paul in the Bible. I labor with my own hands, to bring that ministry to fruition and to keep it going. And I'm gonna continue to do that to make sure that the least of these can count, that can be taken care of. But I'm saying that if y'all have it, if you have it in your power to fund anything that the peer support counselors are doing, help them. I mean, really, really help them. They're doing things. Mr. Scott, you know they're doing things. I'm not supposed to address you. But anyway, thank God for Jacksonville, Onslow County. Thank God for all of y'all, but I'm just hoping that this thing just, and I mean even more to be a help to Mike. I told him today, my church now has a 21-passenger bus. We get people back and forth to work in Duplin County, where I do live, where they're hiring the house of Rayford like crazy. So we have the structure to get people working. The owner there is a friend of mine. We can get them working, and I can make sure they got transportation. I've got members that already said, Pastor, we'll take them to work, so that won't be a problem. But right now in Onslow County, help is needed, and I pray that y'all see it in your hearts to help them out. God bless you.
Thank you, Reverend Batts. Commissioners, that concludes our public comment period this evening.
Okay, item 4 is 2022 county health rankings. think Ms. Chrissy Hoover, our health director, is going to present that to us.
Good evening, Chairman, Vice Chairman, and Commissioners. This evening, I am bringing you a presentation of the 2022 County Health Rankings. The County Health Rankings are an annually produced report that is published by the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation. These County Health Rankings were first published in 2010, and they're updated each year. In this framework, each county within the state of North Carolina is ranked. So when we look at the ratings tonight, we'll be looking at how Onslow County ranks compared to the other counties within the state out of all 100. These are based on a model of population health. It looks at many factors that, if improved, we believe can help make communities healthier places to live, learn, work, and play. In the 2022 update, Onslow County ranks 23rd out of North Carolina's 100 counties for health outcomes and 26th out of 100 counties for health factors. In this framework, first, or 1, is the healthiest or best, and 100 would be the lowest health indicators are the worst. This presentation will also help the health department meet accreditation activity 9.1, which requires the local health department to publish and disseminate data and information on local health issues. So, what I'll tell you for the sake of time as we try to get the presentation to show up is that, like we said, this is a model of population health. We rank to get attention, to start conversations, and to bring others to the table so that local public health officials don't have to do this alone. We encourage the users to look at these ratings as one of many tools. So we know that this is one way to look at how we can rate health, but this is only one view of how we can look at it. We also know that the measures and the weights of each measure change year to year. So as we look over time, we might see that a county has variation, and we're somewhat discouraged from comparing ourselves to ourselves over time because these ratings and metrics can change year to year. Whenever we get the presentation pulled up, you'll be able to see that there is a band that kind of goes right along I-95. Often in public health and in many things, we talk about Eastern North Carolina as being an area that does not achieve the type of outcomes that we see in the rest of the state. We know that we have health disparities, and in this view, we see that we find the same thing. We have a little bit more affluence along the coastline, and so we have a little bit better health outcomes. Skip ahead to where we're at. So you can kind of see how this band of darker color, which indicates higher rankings, higher in number, worse outcomes, kind of follows that I-95 corridor. And then you can see how Onslow County ranks in comparison to those that surround us. This is the view that shows you how our ranking has changed since the first ratings were put out in 2010, and it also indicates that we have improved slightly since the previous year. This is the framework that shows you that the policies and the programs that we implement influence those health factors. The health factors you can see as you go across this slide are put into 4 large domains of health behaviors, clinical care, social and economic factors, and the physical environment. And then they produce or they influence health outcomes. In this framework, health outcomes is made up of quality and length of life. As we look across this slide, you can see that there are many sub-metrics that are included there. And they have various weights or various percentages of importance that are ascribed to them. In this slide, you can see that we have added for each one of these domains where Onslow County ranked for each one. So you can see that when you look at the quality and length of life, we're 39th in the state for length of life and 16th for quality of life. We rank 72nd for health behaviors, and that's really our area of concern. Whenever you look across to those subdomains of tobacco use, diet and exercise, alcohol and drug use, and sexual activity, and the submetrics that make those up, that is the area where we have the greatest struggle around alcohol and drug use and sexual activity. We also have struggles around food environment and access to exercise opportunities. Clinical care, we rank 31st. Social and economic factors, we rank 14th. In those social factors, you see that we have struggles with unemployment and social associations. Some of this might be indicative of the type of population that we have here in Onslow County that is somewhat transient. And then for physical environment, we rank first in that domain. But as you look across into the submetrics that make up the physical environment, there is no single measure where we rank first. It is the combination of those factors that give us that overall ranking of first for physical environment. So what do we do with this data? Part of what the health department does is bring this data for dialogue, for awareness. We have a community health advisory team that consists of various partners in the community. We drill down on issues. We try to ask the right questions and bring the right partners together. We want to prioritize options. We want to select strategies that we know are evidence-based, things that we believe really will work to improve our population's health. And then we need to act. We've got to repeat cycles of measuring, assessing, and improving. Part of how we'll do that is through community health improvement plans. Right now, we're in the process of developing community health improvement plans for priority areas, and these county health rankings are one of the tools that we use to help focus our attention on the areas that really need the most work, and these are currently under development. When we have them available, we will also be bringing them for your review. That's a really quick overview of what the 2022 county health rankings looked like and why we choose to focus on them. If you have questions, I'll be happy to try to answer those.
We need a motion to accept the report, or
So moved.
Second.
a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Ms. Hoover.
Thank you.
Now on item 5, we have 2 public hearings. I will turn that over to Ms. Griffin to conduct the public hearings.
Thank you, Chairman Bright. Commissioners, we do have 2 public hearings this evening. Our first one is ZTA-2022-0002, public hearing on spring 2022 zoning text amendments. And I will turn it over for staff introduction and recommendation to Jessica Rue, who is our Planning and Development Director.
Thank you so much. Good evening, Chairman, Vice Chairman, and Commissioners. If you recall, last year in May of 2021, we had a public hearing on the adoption of a new zoning ordinance that was 160D compliant. We adopted this ordinance the next month in June of 2021, and it became effective July 1st, 2021. At that time, when we adopted this ordinance, you did so contingent upon us processing 2 rounds of complementary updates and modifications, both to the map and as well to the text. And so this evening, we have the second and final round of those complementary updates before you for your consideration. So, although the zoning map is part of the zoning ordinance, there are 2 separate processes, so we do have 2 separate public hearings, and I will begin with the text. Staff is requesting, after using the ordinance for about 13 months, modifications to 7 different articles in the zoning ordinance, as well as proposing to add an Appendix C, which will catalog when all of our modifications and amendments take place. Although this looks a little overwhelming, most of these updates are simply to clarify and eliminate ambiguity, and there are several areas where there are policy changes, and I will call more attention to those. What you'll really see here is, if you'll recall, we kind of did something kind of innovative last year, and we connected our review processes to 3 separate types of site plans: the major, the minor, and the basic. As we went through over time and were using those, we realized we needed to add a little clarity and some more specific requirements. You will find that in these amendments, as well as a reorganization of the chart that shows you what is required for each type of site plan. We wanted to make sure we were asking for the right type of information for each project. This cleans that up for you. Another item where you'll see some updates is kind of, again, adding clarity to replacing and continuing non-conforming structures and uses. It was one of your goals as we worked through this process, if you'll remember, to make sure we were keeping all buildings usable and not creating or more nonconformities or prohibiting the use of continuing or running a business, things of that nature. Particularly, you will see some modifications. We have seen recently a little bit of a renaissance of mobile home parks. Not that individuals are interested in starting new mobile home parks, but that they are interested in replacing mobile homes or expanding existing ones. And our ordinance did not lend itself to that. We wanted to make sure that we had the right requirements there, and they are now added in. Two separate policy changes I will call to your attention because we did discuss these when we were going through the public hearing process. You'll recall there was a lot of interest in modifying accessory structure standards. And so what we brought to you last year was a requirement that an accessory structure outside of the RA district could not be larger than 50% of the heated square footage of the primary structure. And so we made that change, allowed it by right, with the caveat that if you wanted one larger, you could go ask for a special use permit from the Board of Adjustment. Well, we saw some unintended consequences here, backlogging the Board of Adjustment with a lot of cases that create a lot of paperwork and take a lot of staff time. And most of the time, they were not exorbitantly large structures. They were still slightly under about equal or 100%. And so staff, in an effort to reduce trips to the Board of Adjustment, because they have not denied one of these yet, the proposal is to say that you can have up to 100% of that square footage. And of course, this excludes RA. We do not limit the accessory structure size in our RA district. The next policy change that you'll see is eliminating the ability to ask for a special use permit to set up an RV as a residence in the R8M district. The reason we are proposing this is we are seeing more and more neighbors come out at our Board of Adjustment meetings speaking against this. These are becoming more traditional neighborhoods. We are seeing less compelling real estate appraiser reports on the impacts to the neighboring property. And so we are proposing to take that S out of our chart that suggests that you can go ask for a special use permit for this and take that right away. And in that district only. Of course, if you would like to set up an RV as a residence, you may still do so in RA. You may also do so in the 3 districts we allow RV parks in, which of course are community business, highway business, and rural agriculture. At our planning board meeting on June 2nd, they did unanimously recommend adoption of this amendment package. I, by law, have to point out they found them to be reasonable and in the public interest and generally consistent with the county's comprehensive plan. And no citizens spoke for or against these amendments at that meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rue. At this time, I will open the public hearing for ZTA 2022-0002. No one is signed up to speak. For this public hearing, I will make one call to the audience. If you'd like to speak specifically about this issue, if you would approach the mic at this time. Seeing no one, I will now close the public hearing, and this item is now available for commissioner discussion.
Motion to approve.
Second. Have a motion and a second. Jesse, the discussion here, the RA zone for the 100% auxiliary structure, is that RA only or?
No, sir. In our rural agriculture district, we do not limit the size of accessory structures currently or in the proposed changes. This is to apply to all of our other residential districts.
And for clarification, if someone wants to get a RV and park it in their yard and hook it up, they have to have a special use permit now in RA, or what's the regulation for that under this new proposal?
In RA, if you would like to set up an RV as a residence or as a secondary residence, you do not need any kind of special approvals. You can come to our office, and as long as you have wastewater approval to hook that RV up as a residence, we will issue a permit almost over the counter.
I see a lot of them. A lot of homes, seems like everybody's got an RV and they've got it hooked up and I don't know if somebody's staying in them or not, but they've got them hooked up. But anyway, any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. And I think we got public hearing on the next one also.
Yes, Ms. Rue will now present the staff background and recommendation for PREZ-2022-00007 for the public hearing on the spring 2022 zoning map amendments.
Thank you so much. Staff is presenting to you 11 different areas of the county we are recommending for zoning changes. I think it's important to point out we used a methodology when we adopted our zoning map and we studied the whole county last year. We used the same methodology when we brought forth to you some requested amendments on November 15th, which we adopted. So of course, when we are looking and considering these zoning changes, we look first to make sure that we are not creating nonconformities, that we are adding conformity, that we are not creating spot zoning situations, and we are not negatively impacting any properties around the properties that we're proposing to rezone. These 11 areas were not staff initiated. These all come from property owners or citizens requesting these changes. We found they did meet that same methodology, and so we have brought them forth to you. Different zoning changes that have been requested that did not necessarily meet this or fit those criteria will come to you separately, and we will look at them as we traditionally do, and we do have 5 of those coming up soon over the next few months. On your screen are these 11 areas. The planning board did get a slightly more in-depth review of these. In the interest of time, I will walk through, explain the acreage, the location, the zoning change, and if you have any questions later, I'll be happy to answer them. Our first area is Bailey and Jonathan Drives. Current zoning is R8M and R20. The request is to go to rural agriculture. This encompasses about 26 acres and 21 lots. This is in Jacksonville. This is in an area where the city relinquished the ETJ back to us in 2017, and in looking at these the current zoning, RA zoning is more appropriate for the mobile homes and the warehousing that is out there right now. We have 3 lots on Bear Creek that total about 5.5 acres in Swansboro. The request is to go from community business to RA. This is a down zoning with less density. We have about 64 acres requested to go from R20 to R8M in Beechtree Hills. This is 43 lots in Richlands. This is to create conformity. There are a number of mobile homes out in this area. We have a lot that is about 1.5 acres in Richlands on Fire Tower and Murrell Brown Roads. The request to go from community business to RA. Again, this is a down zoning. There are approximately 37 acres requested to go from RA to R8M. This is in Swansboro. Again, this is to create conformity. Mobile home parks are allowed in R8M, which is what is out here. Haas Run and Scott Jenkins Road. This is a request to go from RA to R20, 28.6 acres. This is currently in a subdivision review process. If you'll recall, we have a planned residential development process you can use to create a subdivision. However, that is not allowed in rural agriculture, and it is allowed in R20. We have about 145.58 acres requested to go from R8 to R8M with 14 lots in Swansboro. Again, we are adding conformity here. There are a number of mobile home parks. Mobile home parks are only allowed in R8M. In Kingsbridge, we have 52 lots totaling 40.22 acres. Request to go to R8M to R15. This is to, I believe, stay in line with some of the covenants in the neighborhood. We have a request to go from R20 to RA for 18 acres, 16 lots on Parkertown Road. In this area, we did receive several comments at Planning Board with concerns about the status of the lots parking there. I will say that Planning Board did point out to those who commented on that, that is not necessarily part of the zoning process. It is something that we handle through permitting. This was an area that was zoned this way during the 160D public hearing. The current owner would like it returned to RA because they are interested in doing both single-family homes and mobile homes, and RA allows that and R20 does not. A request to go from R15 to RA on Rhodestown Road. This property is split zoned right now. They would like all of the property to be zoned RA. This change would accommodate that. And Swan Point Road, a request to go from community business to R8M, about 5 acres and 3 lots here. Again, accommodating mobile homes. Planning Board reviewed this rezoning package on June 2nd and did unanimously recommend it. There were 2 comments not in support of these rezonings and 3 general inquiries at that meeting, and that is across all 11 changes. Your packet does explain a little more detail where the request was coming from and what kind of conformity it adds, if you'd like to reference that, or I'm happy after the public speaks to answer any of those questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rue. At this time, I will open the public hearing for this item. We do have 4 citizens signed up to speak at this public hearing. Please remember you have exactly 5 minutes, and please address the board as a whole. Our first speaker, and if you would confirm your name and your address as you come to the podium, Mr. Glenn Kennard, 531 Parkertown Road.
Good evening, gentlemen. Mr. Bright. My name's Glenn Knable. I reside at 531 Parkertown Road. I own the majority of the property that is on the other side of the road that they want to rezone. I would like for you, this rezoned is, I believe, R20, which is stick-built homes. I believe it should remain that way, and I'll tell you why. You have Peyton's Ridge directly behind it. Nice place, nice houses. You get a lot of tax revenue off of them. They're going to go up in value over the years. My home and my son's home across the road went up with the new evaluation. Mine went up $100,000, the value of my property, and his went up about the same, about $100,000. Now, I'm not complaining about that. I think that's great because we need the tax money to do what you men do. The tax revenue, excuse me. If you allow mobile homes and double wides on that property, they will not increase in value. They will decrease in value over the years. We all know that. But if you can afford a double wide, you can afford to stick build a house over there. There's no more difficulty in them doing that than what I did on my side of the road. So I don't understand why we would shoot ourselves in the foot to allow something that's going to depreciate to go in there when we can have something that will appreciate in value over the years and go from there. I mean, I don't understand it. And I wish you would put this one particular place aside or leave it as it is zoned right now and let them put stick-built houses over there, which is what you should do if you want to keep the community up. I don't want my property devalued. I don't want, because of something that's beyond my control, and I'm sure Peyton Ridge residents don't want the same thing. I've got nothing against mobile homes, but I do know that they do depreciate. They don't appreciate. And that's what we need there on that particular part of Parkertown Road. We don't need any more. We've got two that have been there for 25 years. So if somebody wants to argue, well, there's mobile homes there already, well, yes, and some of you know that have been in that area, and I know some of you, yes, that know what I'm talking about. So, I mean, it's your decision, of course, and I'll go with whatever you say, but I would really appreciate, let's build stick-built homes over there, let them appreciate in value, let it be an asset to the community, and not a deterrent over the long run. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Knaud. Our next speaker is Mr. John Pierce of 465 Johnson Boulevard.
Good afternoon, John Pierce. I'm just here to be in support of, I think I proposed like 3 or 4 days rezonings. One of them was on the Scott Jenkins Road, and what we're proposing is stick-built homes. And I think on the 26 acres, we're proposing 19 lots, because we got some that's larger and others a little bit smaller, but I think it's appropriate to zone it R20 because there's a lot of multiple other uses we could put on the property with RA zone, and we voluntarily asked to rezone it. Then I think another one I was in support of, Jonathan Drive, rezoning it to RA, and I think maybe another one, but I think that all of those I am in favor. I'm not aware of the one in Parkertown Road, but all the rest of the ones I know about, I am in favor to support what the planning board and the staff recommends. And I'll be on later if there's any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pierce. Our next speaker is Mr. Eric Bevins of 15633 Fishing Creek Lane.
Good evening, gentlemen. My name is Eric Bevins. I live at 156 TAC 33 Fishing Creek Lane. I'm a simple guy. This is all very new to me. I'm currently the manager of Sunshine Acres of Onslow Incorporated. From my understanding, the rezoning of Fishing Creek Lane is to allow a property owner to develop a RV community back there. My concerns, we have a lot of wildlife in that area that are very well protected back there currently. One of the largest populations of wildlife I've seen in the area. The current infrastructure of the area, our roadway, is very prone to destruction from hurricanes. We've had several washouts. I fear that bringing large vehicles of the RV type through that area constantly is going to weaken that even more so. Not to mention the families that already live there with small children that like to play. A lot of large vehicles moving through that area could be detrimental to them. We have, as I stated, several families work hard, simple folk, and bringing in a transient type community like an RV park, and we have several in the area already where I have seen it, brings the possibility of disruptive behavior all hours of day and night. For the last 2 years, I have worked hard with other managers in that area to try to clean the area up, make it a nice area to live in. Several of our deputies, maybe even some of them that are here tonight, have been out there responding to calls. And those are people that we're trying to get out of the area to protect our community. If we allow people from all over to come in with their RVs and party and everything else, I just fear that it would not be a good area for our children. Thank you.
Ms. Griffin, what area was he referring to? I missed it, maybe.
His address is Fishing Creek Lane.
Okay.
So I believe that'd be the Bear Creek area.
Okay.
Is that correct?
It is Fishing Creek Lane, ma'am.
Fishing Creek, okay.
It's the Bear Creek.
We had 2 or 3 different, I want to just make sure I know which property.
And Ms. Rue might be able to help us with that when she's able to come back to the podium after our final speaker, Mr. Willie Thompson of 129 Jenkins Road.
Good evening. I'm Willie Thompson with 129 White Place Lane, or 129 Scott Jenkins Road. I'm concerned about the rezoning in Halls Run area, as well as Onslow County. I'm not from a well-to-do family. I've worked hard all my life. I've heard a lot of comments about mobile home parks. We all don't make $200,000 a year. There are homes that are needed that are going to be under $100,000. We can't. It's not a disposable house. Some people need these homes. So I get back onto, I'm concerned about the rezoning of the agricultural land into residential property. I ask that you take into consideration all the things that are involved in it. The consequential changes, number one, we're taking farmland for years that has been the dumping grounds for turkey farms and hog waste. And I have yet to see a health department show up and test the soil before we start developing this land and selling it to people that don't know what was on that land. To my understanding, there's heavy metal in turkey waste, and there's no mention of that. It's just develop to make the county's coffers full. And I am for that because people like Mr. Mike need it. The environmental impact of the areas that are being developed. We have roads that have been there for 50 years and nobody's paid attention to them. There's no work on them. The electrical systems have been there. I've been there 35 years. I haven't seen any upgraded in the electrical systems. The water systems, there's been no upgrades in the water systems for at least 20 years in the Halls Run area. So we're talking about the infrastructure. Emergency services. It's a joke to call the first responders. I got electrocuted probably about 10 years ago. We called the emergency first responders. 45 minutes to show up in Halls Run. That was 10 years ago. Since that time, a minimum on the Halls Run area has been 100 homes built. And we're proposing with the Halls Run area that Halls Run and Scott Jenkins Road, there's 10 homes built to date on that piece of property. And now all of a sudden we got to rezone it. So it's almost like you're begging for forgiveness, not permission anymore. And the reason why I'm concerned about that piece of property is a trailer park that I do business at is a mile within that area. And that is probably 45 acres more or less. And that's currently being surveyed to change it to R20, I believe, at least. I'm concerned of all the development that's going on, all the lower income housing that's being talked like it's a bad thing now. And just the money that's being thrown at that and not thoroughly understanding why we have to take our farmlands away to build 100,000. I understand population is coming into town, but we can't do away with the lower income people's homes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. That concludes those who have signed up for tonight's public hearing. I will make one call to the audience. If you have specific comments about this particular item, if you would approach the podium at this time. Seeing no one, I will now close the public hearing. It is now available for commissioner discussion, and I would like to call Ms. Jessie Rue back up to the microphone if she could give some clarity on particularly the 4 speakers who spoke, and if you need to see the addresses again, I'll be glad to share that with you.
Sure. I will start with Mr. Bevins. He is the easiest one to address. So he was concerned on Fishing Creek Lane, the change from RA to R8M was going to allow RV parks. So let me just say right there, R8M does not allow RV parks. What this change was the point of this change was to make the mobile home park that is out there conforming. And the reason we want the mobile home park to be conforming is so they can bring mobile homes in and out and replace them and keep that up. So no RVs are allowed new in our ADM, not in a park, and as of a few minutes ago, not single ones either. So that should qualm that concern. As far as Hawes Run and Scott Jenkins Road, the request to go from RA to R20, that is about 29 acres. In this area, this was to be able to use our planned residential development process, which developers sometimes prefer because the process of it is a little bit easier. Just to be very clear, out in RA, you can still create a subdivision just about with the same amount of density as if the zoning changes. It makes it a little bit easier to accommodate. I'll also add that the environmental impacts, the traffic impacts, and all of those other agencies are handled in a review through our subdivision ordinance and our technical review committee. Those are not necessarily handled through this zoning ordinance. Our subdivision ordinance will kick in either way. On Parkertown Road, this was a request by the owner. The owner requested to go from R20 to RA. Whether the owner wants to put mobile homes or stick-built homes, they would have that flexibility. Of course, when we look at zoning, we look at all of the different things that can be accommodated in that zoning district, and we are all very familiar that in rural agriculture, there are a number of different things you can do. And so this was processed to return to RA, which is where the zoning was before July 1st last year at the request of the owner.
Thank you so much, Ms. Rue. And just for the board to keep all of this a little more clear, the last one that she just mentioned that was owner requested from R20 to RA, Parkertown Road, that was the first gentleman, Mr. Kennard, who spoke in the public hearing. Our second speaker, John Pierce, she did not address that just now. The third speaker, Mr. Bevins, was talking about Fishing Creek Lane, and that is the one where she said that no RV park would be permitted by the change. And then the final one, Mr. Thompson, was talking about the Hawes Run and John and Scott Jenkins Road. And that's the one where she said that would allow use of the planned residential development process. And we'll be happy to answer any further questions.
What would be the lot size on those homes on Scott Jenkins Road? What would be typically your lot size?
On Scott Jenkins Road, the request to go to R20, 20,000. The lot size would not change. It's 20,000 either zoning district.
That's almost equivalent to a half acre, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
20,000 square feet.
And these are all changes that are kind of going back to where it was before last summer when we changed it, right?
They're split. Most of these are to, like I said, about a third of them are to make mobile home parks conforming, so we have that flexibility so people can easily swap out a mobile home, come in and get a permit for it, keep the lots the same, and keep that conformity. A handful of these are people simply have a large piece and they'd like to be zoned RA. In 2 or 3 of these cases, they just want to build a single-family home or 2 on RA. They didn't want the other zoning. And then this particular one was to make it a little bit easier to go through that subdivision process. And then we did have 2 requests to return to zoning. And I think that was the point of why we got into this. People might not have been aware the zoning was changes. It's their right to ask for it to be changed back.
Well, Parkertown Road, if we'll go back to that screen, those properties there are already, there's already mobile homes on those properties, aren't they?
In some cases, I believe you're correct.
Yeah. I think I've seen quite a few mobile homes in that area already there. So RA would be, and those lots has to be 20,000 square foot too?
That's right.
To build.
These are much larger than that, though. Yes.
Right. Okay. The motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion or questions for Ms. Rue? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We will take a 10-minute break. Be back in 10 minutes. I'd like to call the Board of Commissioners meeting back to order. The next item is item number 6, appointment of our tax assessor, Ben Warren. Will give us that information.
For your consideration this evening, we have the appointment of Mr. Kevin Turner as the county's tax administrator. The general statutes require that the board appoint a tax assessor for a period of time not less than 2 years or more than 4 years, and a county tax collector for a term that's determined by the Board of Commissioners. The county's tax administrator position fulfills both of these roles. And last July, the board appointed our former tax administrator, Mr. Harry Smith, to a 4-year term that's set to expire on June 30th of 2025. For your consideration this evening, we ask that you consider the appointment of Mr. Kevin Turner as the Onslow County Tax Administrator for the remainder of that 4-year term, ending on June 30th of 2025. And I'll be happy to answer any questions the board may have.
Motion to approve.
Yeah, absolutely.
Have a motion, any
Second.
discussion?
Sitting there. Hey, come a long way, Kevin. The days when you were a detective down there at the sheriff's office to now. I'm gonna have to start calling you sir, you know.
Thank you for your service.
Yeah, congratulations, though, Kevin. I think it's well deserved.
Yeah, our current, our past tax assessor has retired, and Kevin, you've got some big shoes to fill, but I'm sure you up to that, and welcome aboard. If you want to stand up so everybody can see who you are. Everybody needs to know who the tax man is.
All tax questions to Kevin Turner.
It's all his fault.
Congratulations, Kevin. What you asked for.
Now you're coming at people from a different angle now.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Surplus land, Christine Russell will be presenting that.
Good evening, Chairman and Commissioners. The county received an offer from a citizen in the amount of $14,198.67 to purchase surplus real property located at 137 Revival Center Road, which is parcel number 018943, approximately 0.61 acres in size. The statute allows the county to sell the property no longer serving as public purpose, and the county's standard practice is to sell the surplus property using the negotiated offer, advertisement, and upset bid process. This process allows interested parties to submit an upset offer within the 10-day advertisement. If there is no upset offers within the 10-day period, the property will be sold to the citizen, and if we receive any upset bids, the highest offer will be brought back to the board for consideration. It is respectfully requested that the Board of Commissioners approve Resolution Number 22-009, which authorizes the purchasing division head to conduct the sale of the property using the negotiated offer, advertisement, and upset bid process, and to authorize the chairman to sign the resolution on behalf of the county. I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Motion to
approve. Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Thank you. Voting delegate, I'll turn that over to Ms. Griffin.
Thank you, Chairman Brain. Commissioners, the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners holds the annual conference and the Legislative Goals Conference each year. The NCACC has requested that each county select one person to serve as the voting delegate for both conferences. One of these conferences is in Cabarrus County on Saturday, August 13th at 2 p.m. for the voting. The other one will be over 2 days on November 16th and 17th in Wake County. So whoever you appoint needs to be able to do both of those. At this time, I respectfully request that the Board of Commissioners select one commissioner to serve as our voting delegate this year for the NCACC 115th Annual Conference and this year's NCACC Legislative Goals Conference in November.
Motion to appoint Mark Price. I second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor of any discussion? All in favor of the motion to appoint Commissioner Price to that position signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. We'll move on now to Mr. Chris White, Airport Architectural Engineering Consultant selection.
Good evening, Commissioners. In accordance with the FAA policy, a qualification-based selection process for on-call architectural engineering and planning services is to be conducted at minimum once every 5 years. In April, a request for qualifications was issued and a committee reviewed the responses received. Responses to the RFQ were evaluated based on the following criteria: relevant project experience, general qualifications, key personnel and availability, experience with funding and regulatory agencies, quality and cost control, success with disadvantaged business enterprise participation, regional familiarity, and financial stability. Multiple firms may be selected, and provided the assignments are based on qualifications of the firm and not on price. Due in part to the anticipated nationwide increase in the volume of design work and the availability of engineering firms related to programs such as the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law Bill and our aggressive capital program, it is recommended that 2 firms be selected. The 2 proposed firms are both capable and bring complementary skills. Both firms have provided design services to OAJ as well as Onslow County in the past and have significant knowledge of the FAA and DOT practices. The panel independently and unanimously recommended the selection of RS&H, our current on-call designer, and W.K. Dixon as the most qualified respondents based on their capabilities related to the anticipated projects. In 2009-2010, W.K. Dixon designed and oversaw the construction of the airport sanitary sewer connection in a joint on-WASA project. This project enabled many other projects at the airport and some private development as well. Since 2007, RS&H has capably served the county as a primary on-call airport designer, delivering major projects from the terminal building and the control tower to the runway rehabilitation for many, many projects. It is respectfully requested that Onslow County Board of Commissioners award a 5-year on-call architectural engineering and design services contract to RS&H Incorporated for the projects at the Auburn JLS Airport. If awarded, authorize the chairman to sign on behalf of the county commissioners.
Motion?
So moved.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of item D, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. I think the next one is yours also, Mr. White.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, in the interest of brevity, we won't repeat the exact same thing again. Now, the requested action is respectfully requested that Onslow County Board of Commissioners award a 5-year on-call architectural engineering and design contract to W.K. Dixon for projects at the Auburn JLS Airport, and if awarded, authorize the chairman to sign on behalf of the commissioners.
Motion?
Motion approved.
Second.
Second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Section F, I believe, Chris, I think that's yours also.
It is. This is the reassignment of the Sprint cellular antenna system leased to T-Mobile South. On May 6, 2019, Onslow County entered into a 5-year lease agreement with Sprint Spectrum LP to host equipment that expands the cellular coverage at the Auburn JLS Airport. The lease includes 21.15 square feet of space in room 233, located on the second floor of the passenger terminal, for the installation of equipment and cellular antennas to provide service to the public as well as business customers. Recently, T-Mobile and Sprint merged, retaining the T-Mobile name. T-Mobile South LLC is requested to reassign and assume the lease expiring on May 5th, 2024. It is respectfully requested that the Board of Commissioners approve the reassignment and assumption of the Sprint Spectrum LP and T-Mobile South LLC. If approved, authorize the county manager to execute on behalf of the county.
Motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Memorandum of agreement for the Dix Crisis Center Intervention Center. Ms. Slater will present that one.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. This evening before you, I have the current MOU or Memorandum of Agreement with our partners on the Dix Crisis Center and Oversight Committee. This is a one-year agreement. It keeps in place all of the same conditions that have been in place in the prior two MOAs, where all of the partners, including Carteret County, Craven County, the City of Jacksonville, Onslow Memorial Hospital, Carteret Healthcare, and Trillium, along with Onslow County, partner to fund and monitor the Dix Crisis Intervention Center. I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Motion?
Motion to approve. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I just want to say one thing about the crisis center. You know, from the very onset, from the first time we started approaching this, you know, you worked really hard, Sherry, along with the staff to get this up and running. It's kind of taken off. As we have gone through most of the meetings that you and I attend and et cetera, you know, we've had our ups and downs, but we've been able to keep all the partners interested. That's a monumental task when you have different government entities working together, sharing the pot of money. But as Mr. Mike said, he brought up a good point too about the peer counseling and stuff like that. And you know, we have to focus in probably more so in trying to get Trillium to open up the network to more Medicaid providers. I can speak from firsthand experience because my wife is a mental counselor, or a mental health counselor, and a substance abuse counselor. And there are a lot of things that we need to do in that respect. But I appreciate the progress and the hard work and everything that you've done for that. And I think this is a win-win for us. It's not a solution to everything. It's a big start, and we just have to keep moving forward. But thank you.
Thank you, sir.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion or questions? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Section H, Motorola WatchGuard body-worn cameras. I think Sheriff Miller will present that item.
Good evening, Commissioners, staff. It's a pleasure to be in front of you and present this very needed. That's something that the Board of Commissioners had actually approved before. But it's my honor to report to you that the Onslow County Sheriff's Office has selected Motorola WatchGuard's V300 body-worn camera to serve as the BWC body-worn camera program, equipment, and lease. These are not going to be owned, they're going to be leased. The Sheriff's Office in Onslow County Purchasing requested proposals for body-worn cameras. As a service, Motorola WatchGuard has provided a contract and lease for body cameras, associated equipment, and cloud-based storage, which was really something we were concerned about, the cost of storage. However, Motorola has done that for $342,531 over 5 years. The Sheriff's Office will utilize $129,537 in U.S. Department of Justice funds to assist in covering the lease costs for the first 3 years in compliance with a grant approved by the board. And I'm here to answer any questions.
Motion?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? We've already approved these. It's just that we needed to have this on the agenda so it would direct the county manager to sign the contract.
That's correct, sir. The body, the governing body has to approve that.
Okay. Hearing no further discussion, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. The Governor's Highway Safety Program, DWI Task Force Grant, 5-year program. Sheriff, that's yours also?
Yes, sir. Onslow County Sheriff's Office has been approved for a 5th year of funding from the North Carolina Governor's Highway Safety Program for the DWI Task Force. Funding for NCGHSP requires a 75% match from Onslow County. The grant was awarded in June 2022 for an amount not to exceed $105,354 in federal share funds. The county's required match will not exceed $316,062. September ends the fourth federal fiscal year of the DWI Task Force. Between 2016 and 2020, Onslow County averaged 6 alcohol-related fatalities, 5.8 alcohol-related fatal crashes, 16.6 alcohol-related serious injury, and 227.2 alcohol-related crashes. And the reason there are decimal points is because it's an average. Overall, Onslow County averaged 20.2 fatalities between 2016 and 2021. Since the beginning of the project, Onslow County has had 28% decrease in alcohol-related facilities. We have dropped from 8th to 22nd place in the state. We have also dropped from 4th to 11th place for alcohol-related serious injury and from 8th to 12th place for alcohol-related crashes. And Commissioner, that affects our insurance rates in the long run. As of June 2022, the DWI Task Force, who is here tonight, has been completed over 13,015 traffic stops, resulting in over 18,649 charges, including 1,122 DWI charges, 1,123 DWI charges. The task force has also issued citations for 6,819 speeding offenses, 721 reckless driving offenses, 1,037 restraint offenses, and 1,328 non-licensed driver offenses. In addition to traffic offenses, the DWI Task Force has issued 187 drug charges and arrested 75 wanted individuals. They have conducted over 70 checking stations and shown 106 safety presentations, reaching over 15,756 individuals. And our goal in those that education is to prevent the young people from driving impaired or unsafe driving. I'm here to answer any questions.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion or any questions for the sheriff?
I just want to say something about, and I asked the DWI Task Force members to attend tonight because these guys are the unsung heroes. And being, retired law enforcement, we used to work those checkpoints. Of course, I was a dope guy, so I was there for another reason. But those could be some of the most dangerous situations that you can encounter, especially when you get one that breaks bad and you got a chase car and you have to chase them down and et cetera. They try to avoid those checkpoints. Ever since this DWI task force came about with the grant and everything, you just heard the statistics that the sheriff read tonight. I mean, the fatality rate, the 28% decrease in alcohol-related fatalities, that's very significant. I think they're being very aggressive. I think it's proactive. That's what we need in this county, especially from law enforcement. Mm-hmm. And I'd like to recognize these guys that are sitting back here right now. You got Scott Crossman, you got Kyle Whelan, Kyle Connor, Nick Whelan, Kyle O'Connor, Keith Whaley, Larry Nobles, and then we've got Tommy Marshburn right here. He is the DWI task force. I think you guys should give these guys a round of applause because they deserve it. And then, I'm really proud of these statistics and what you guys have done, because you guys are out there every single night doing your normal stuff, part of the task force, et cetera. And I think you're showing extreme proactivity, which is commendable. And I know it's not an easy job, and your statistics speak volumes. They must be painstaking to keep these amounts of numbers and to keep them accurate. And when I see these numbers here, I know that you guys are documenting everything, dotting your I's and crossing your T's with these numbers. And that, to me, that's very impressive. And I just wanted to say thank you personally from me for a job well done, and keep it up, man. just stay safe, keep your head on a swivel when you're out there, but fantastic job, guys, and I appreciate it, Sheriff and Colonel Thomas.
Well, Commissioner Board, I want to say thank you to you as well, because our goal is prevention, and the more we can prevent and make the statistics go down, our community will be safer, and I think the people have a right to know that. It's for the prevention.
That's right.
That is our goal.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Thank you, Sheriff. I think the next one is overtime grant. I believe that was yours also.
I'll keep it very, very short.
Keep you up here for a while.
As I can. According to North Carolina Crash Database, this is a statewide crash database with the figures that we actually trust because they're accurate. Onslow County is ranked 18th for unrestrained serious injury crashes, 13th for speed-related fatal crashes, 7th for speed-related serious injuries, and 7th for motorcyclist fatalities. We have a very young population here in Onslow County. An average of 29.6 of Onslow County crashes are alcohol-related. Between 2016 and 2020, Onslow County had an average of 20.2 roadway fatalities in North Carolina. DOT 2020 data estimates are that one crash will occur every 1.7 hours, with one fatality every 7 days. That's too much. On a 3-year average, annual costs for crashes in Onslow County are more than $450 million per year. Every crash costs nearly $88,000 on the average, and obviously our insurance rates are factored in because of that. So the Onslow County Sheriff's Office has been awarded $225,000 in overtime funds from the North Carolina Governor's Highway Safety Program for traffic safety. Onslow County Sheriff's Office will use grant funds for deputies to conduct high visibility or saturation type enforcement efforts focusing on speeding, seat belts, impaired driving, and motorcyclist enforcement. And a lot of that comes from people that live in the area. So we are responding to citizens' requests. Checking stations will be conducted using data-based analysis and the likelihood of apprehending impaired drivers. The Onslow County Sheriff's Office will schedule a minimum of 40 hours of overtime throughout the month, and deputies will work 4 to 6 hour shifts. Grant funds will be reimbursed at 100%.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Item K, Department of Health and Human Services Memorandum of Understanding. Ms. Sanders will present that one.
Good evening, Chairman, Vice Chair, and Commissioners. The item you have before you this evening is a memorandum of understanding between the Onslow County Department of Social Services and the Department of Health and Human Services. It is required by North Carolina Session Law 2017-41 that all counties enter into an annual MOU with our state. This MOU is effective July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2024, and it does contain our expected performance measures. It is respectfully requested that the Board of Commissioners approve the Department of Health and Human Services fiscal year 2022 through 2024 MOU and authorize the chairman to sign on behalf of the county.
Need a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Sanders. Section L we pulled from the agenda. It was amended. So now we want to take a short break, another short break, because we got to.
Sir, we certainly can if you'd like to, but I think after the budget amendments, the appointments will go fairly quickly.
Okay. Next item is Lisa Marlin, the budget amendments.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. It's my pleasure to present to you two budget amendments this evening. Both of these amendments have to do with the two grants for the Sheriff's Office that were just accepted previous to this. We respectfully request that the Board of Commissioners consider these budget amendments, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Item 7, appointments, Alcoholic Beverage Control Board.
Thank you, sir. This is our first of 7. The Board of Commissioners is responsible for appointing the chairman of the ABC Board annually. Mr. Gary Dixon is serving as chairman of the ABC Board for a 1-year term that expired on June 30th, 2022, and he's requesting reappointment. I respectfully request that the Board of Commissioners consider reappointment of Mr. Gary Dixon as chairman of the ABC Board for a 1-year term expiring on June 30th, 2023.
So moved.
A motion, second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Item B, Fire Rescue Commission.
Yes, sir. The Onslow County Fire Rescue Commission was created by the Board of Commissioners to oversee the volunteer fire departments and the rescue squads in the county and to advise the board. Currently, there is an available seat in seat number 6, the licensed insurance agent category. Ms. Tracy D. Mintz has expressed interest in serving in this category. The application is on file and has been certified by the clerk's office, and at this time, we respectfully request that the board consider appointment of Ms. Mintz to seat number 6 for a 2-year term expiring March 7th, 2024.
So moved.
A motion and a second. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried. Juvenile Crime Prevention Council.
The North Carolina Department of Public Safety.
Commissioner, I'd like to make a motion that I be recused from the voting since my wife sits on this board as a substance abuse professional and she's number 1 on the list.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second to allow Commissioner Knapp not to vote on this issue. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Move
Okay,
forward.
excuse me. Yes, as I was saying, the North Carolina Department of Public Safety partners with juvenile crime prevention councils in each county to galvanize community leaders locally and statewide to reduce and prevent juvenile crime. The JCPC board members are appointed by the County Board of Commissioners and meet monthly in each county. We have 5 individuals that have provided citizen participation applications for appointment to specific seats. All of these seats will be through June 30th, 2024. I will respectfully ask that the board consider appointment of Kelly Knapp to seat number 9, substance abuse professional. Consider William C. Jones to seat number 10 of the Faith Community seat. Megan Howard for seat 12B for under 21. Tondria Leach, seat number 17, nonprofit representative. And Timothy Johnson, seat number 18 from Parks and Recreation. All of these would be for their appointment to the respective categories for the 2-year term. The applications are on file and have been certified by the clerk's office.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Community Child Protection, Child Fatality Review Team.
Thank you, Chairman Bright, Commissioners. The Community Child Protection and Child Fatality Prevention Team reviews the records of all fatalities of Onslow County children, as well as any cases that may be receiving child protective services in which there may be gaps in service delivery from any county agency. Several citizens have submitted citizen participation applications for appointment to their categorical positions. All of these terms expire June 30th, 2023, and all applications are on file and have been certified by the clerk's office. We respectfully request the appointment of Ms. Julia Parrish for law enforcement category, Ms. Susan Kelo, EMS, Miss Elizabeth Hurst, Parent Representative, Miss Angie Robles, at large, Miss Cassandra Almond, at large, Mr. Robert Brown, at large, Mr. Wendell Boykins, at large, and all of these categories are for a one-year term expiring June 30th, 2023.
Motion?
Motion. Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the appointments signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Jacksonville Onslow Sports Commission.
Yes, sir. The Jacksonville Onslow Sports Commission has made its annual request for appointments to the Board of Directors. The Board of Directors has asked that, they voted unanimously, and has asked that the Board of Commissioners appoint Randy Baisden to be appointed to replace Lori Ann Gallant-Helburn, and for seat C, and the board is requesting approval of reappointments to Jerry March for seat K and Mike Choice for seat L. The applications are on file and have been certified by the clerk's office. We do respectfully request appointment of Mr. Baisden for seat C for a remaining 3-year term expiring June 30th, 2023. Reappointment of Mr. March in seat K and Mr. Choice in seat L for a 3-year term expiring June 30th, 2025.
Motion to approve.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Animal Service Advisory Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Animal Services Advisory Committee is composed of 7 board members that are appointed by the Onslow County Board of Commissioners. In accordance with the Animal Services Advisory Committee bylaws, members are not permitted to serve more than 3 consecutive full 3-year terms unless specifically approved by the Board of Commissioners. Tonight, Mr. Gary Evans, Citizen at Large category, had a term that expired on May 16th, 2022, but he has served 3 consecutive terms. He is asking for a waiver from the Board of Commissioners so that he may continue his service on the Animal Services Advisory Committee. Mr. Evans is an active member of this committee and participates regularly. He has provided a citizen participation application, and this is on file and has been certified by the clerk's office. We do ask the board to consider reappointment of Mr. Gary Evans for a 3-year term expiring May 16th, 2025, and authorize the waiver of the term limit.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Regional Agent Advisory Committee.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, this is our final set of appointments. The Eastern Carolina Council Area Agency on Aging is mandated to establish an advisory council to carry out advisory functions which further the area's mission of developing and coordinating community-based systems of services for all of our older persons. Ms. Erica Denise Mitchell and Ms. Loretta Ferrier have both expressed an interest in serving on this committee and have provided citizen participation applications, which are on file and have been certified by the clerk's office. No other individuals expressed interest in serving. We do respectfully request that the Board of Commissioners consider appointment of Ms. Mitchell and Ms. Ferrier to the Regional Aging Advisory Committee for 3-year terms expiring July 18th, 2025.
Motion to approve.
Have a motion. Here a second.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Thank you. We are at the consent agenda, and we had item C, Advisory Board Membership Policy Update, moved to item 8. So I think need a motion on that.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Discussion. We'll open it up for discussion.
Well, the question I had was the need to change policy whenever we can always waiver up to board discretion. We wavered someone tonight. In the last commissioners meeting, we wavered someone for the Workforce Development Board. I just think it's an important principle to state that we want to focus on bringing in people from outside of Onslow County government. And then if there are situations where we need certain levels of expertise, I heard Fire and Rescue Commission in particular is one of the areas that might warrant that. I have no problem with wavering that, supporting a waiver and approving those individuals on that basis, but I don't see any reason to completely change the policy.
If the board would like, I can address the questions that have been brought up. The changes to this particular policy have come forward because there is a difficulty sometimes in filling advisory role positions. These are not governing boards. They are intended to advise the Board of Commissioners in most cases. So there are limitations naturally built in. The current policy not only limits so that you can't have anyone who's an employee of the county, but also limits any relative. And it specifies that it not only includes spouses, but mothers, fathers, uncles, aunts, grandparents, grandchildren, in-laws, adopted relationships. And in our county, sometimes that's quite difficult for us to do. We do want to encourage everyone to have an opportunity to serve, so that is certainly a good point. But as our fire service in particular has changed, it's difficult for us to find leaders to serve on the Fire Rescue Commission who are not at least being paid part-time to help us fill some of those responder roles. We also have other commissions that it's really important that we have subject matter experts such as JCPC, some of our human services, community child protection. We need folks who are actually working in the field to be available to be on it. All of these, regardless of whether or not you approve tonight's changes, must be approved by the Board of Commissioners. So you would still have review of that situation. And if more than one person's interested, of course, we present ballots for your consideration, and I'm happy to answer other questions that you may have.
I understand Commissioner Price's point, but the way I sort of look at it is that it gives us more options, and we don't have to appoint a person if we see that there may be a conflict with, an individual because of the association with the county or that way, but we still don't have to appoint that person. But I think it just gives us more options, and that's my opinion about it.
One of the key things that's happened, though, is on the fire side, Fire Commission, is that we're hiring a lot of these chiefs and assistant chiefs to our emergency responders. So now they work for us. And some of these experts we need on the Fire Commission, and we need them in some of these other boards. That's the reason why I was in favor of doing this. It could help us out a whole lot, especially with the fire side of the house.
Would the waiver process not work? I mean, what would be the problem with utilizing a waiver process?
It's just a little less efficient, given the way that some of our boards have changed so dramatically. We certainly are not trying to recruit employees. I would rather employees be concentrating on their jobs and then their families, but we do have a lot more circumstances now where family members are wanting to be involved, grandparents, uncles, aunts, and we felt like this has not been updated since 2004, that maybe it was time to at least talk about it.
As I understand it, if one of our employees or their relatives wanted to be on one of these boards and that they spoke to Julie, they would be told that the policy says you can't serve. So we would never have the opportunity to consider those people, and we don't ever have the opportunity to consider those people because their applications never get to us. So this would at least give us the option to consider the application of somebody regardless of their employment or familial status.
Still have that option to not appoint them. I mean,
Right.
If we feel like that wouldn't be a good fit. So
we could simply inform them of that they could be approved through a waiver process.
Mr. Chairman, I think you need to call a question.
So we have a motion and a second. We have a motion to approve the consent agenda item. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
No.
Okay, it was a 6-1 vote, and now we'll move on to the manager's comment.
My only comment this evening, I know we've had a long meeting. I'd like to thank everyone who spoke, but I also wanted to clarify for the public, it's confusing sometimes. As part of our annual budget process, we do have a set process, in fairness to everyone, of how we fund nonprofit and tourism organizations. We have a application that comes out on January, at the end of January, and any nonprofit who believes that they are providing a key service to our community, particularly one that the county would have to pay for if this nonprofit were not helping, can fill out that application. It's due by March 1st each year. The budget team reviews it. We listen to presentations. We turn it over to the Board of Commissioners, and the Board of Commissioners thoroughly reviews that, usually in a workshop process before they even consider the budget. And that's all I have for tonight, unless you have questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on now to commissioner comments. I'll start with Royce on that side, and then we'll bounce on the other side and we'll work our way to the middle.
All right, well, I'll be short. I want to congratulate Kevin for your new position and thank everybody who showed up to speak, both at our public hearing and our public sessions. I'm familiar with Mr. Noreski and his work in the community. We appreciate what he does, and I hope everybody will have a nice, safe ride home this late at night.
Commissioner Buchanan?
Thank you. Appreciate everybody being here. And Kevin, how long ago was it when you went to BLET? That tells you how long I've been doing this business of running the police academy. Thank everybody for being here. Congratulations to you. And Mike, thank you for your presentation.
Thank you. Commissioner Scott?
Well, there's a couple things that I'd like to address, and I understand that we do have a process of the 501c3. Tonight, we heard $63 almost kept a person from going back on the street or going to get help. We have a young lady at Dick's Crisis Center, and it's Kelly Knapp. I have never personally talked to her, but I know that she will be a positive process with the monies that's coming down the pike, and I know this board is going to have a say in how the funding is. I truly believe that the county manager, along with Ms. Slater and the rest of the leadership, needs to address a budget for travel of $25,000 to $50,000 a year to get travel to where we don't have to depend on our other agencies to do this. I think that's why the money is going to be given to us in the settlement fund. I'm also letting y'all know that it costs approximately $900 for every peer support specialist to be certified. Onslow County needs 150 right now. That's $900 times 150. We've got 5 sister partners at the Dick's Crisis Center. This is a need that needs to be addressed immediately. I understand the process, but I'm asking the county manager to get the detail packets together, present it to them to where we will have a say of allowing $450,000 for the next 3 years to be given to the licensing and the process of the peer support specialist program. It is a need that we need to start in Onslow County to take care of our citizens. As a parent that lost a son, maybe if we had that peer support specialist there, maybe. Let me tell you, we got community medics that's out here on a daily basis that's doing a job. Peer support specialists are boots on the ground. I want you to know, between Bojangles and Burger King the last 7 days, I've been out there. We've got homeless personnel that's there. Homeless people in Onslow County. 5 of them I had the privilege to buy breakfast for. You go down where the parks are, they're in the wood lines. It's a shame. We need to step up. The elected officials in this county, and my hat's off to the city of Jacksonville, and I know what this board's going to do is going to be dramatic. But we need to address this issue. Sir, I appreciate your presentation. I appreciate your dedication to this county and what you're going to do throughout and in the future. And you got my total support. I thank you for what you're doing. Thank you and good night.
Thank you. Commissioner Price.
Congratulations to peers for 45 years of service to Onslow County. We enjoyed breakfast the other morning and recognizing the historical background of how peers came into being and all the good things that they do for the people of Onslow County. Brigade and Boys Girls Club also had a breakfast, and shout out to Coach Tommy Barnes. His daughter, Corinne, just gave an excellent speech. I'm sure he has much to be proud of. She has a great deal of leadership potential. I'm sure she's going to do some great things in the future. Be careful out there as you're having vacation times, and have a great evening.
Commissioner Knapp.
Just real quick, Mike, thanks for coming tonight. And I hope my meeting with my wife this Wednesday will kind of shed some light and the guys can work together. That'd be great, because I know she's got a lot of respect for you. And she stays busy in the substance abuse world and the mental health world, big time. And maybe one day we'll be able to open up the network to, to additional providers for Medicaid. And that would help substantially. But I think you're an integral part of that counseling process, the healing process, is what I'm talking about. But I appreciate it very much. Again, hats off to the DWI task force. Sheriff, I appreciate you allowing your team members to come in here, Colonel Thomas. I think they're remarkable. There's a lot of work that goes in on a DWI task force, trust me, and a lot of coordination in the long hours. And those guys are out there busting their rear end to keep our streets safe, and I do appreciate their work. I've been there, I know what they're going through, and they're our unsung heroes for sure. And Kevin, I don't know why we chose you, but I guess you just fell into the right mix. But no, congratulations, Kevin. We go back to the 90s. And when you were a detective at the sheriff's office, I remember those days, and you come a long way, and I'm really proud of you, man. You've really done well. So congratulations from me. But other than that, have a safe trip home, folks, and be safe.
Vice Chairman.
Well, thank you, Sheriff Miller, Colonel Thomas, and your Thomas Marshburn, and I think Larry's seemed to stick it out tonight. The rest of the task force has had to run home and relieve the babysitters, I think. So we appreciate all the efforts that you have put in taking care of Onslow County, and some of the things that you've accomplished we can't even document of how it's changed things and the impact it's had. We appreciate that. Mike, thanks for coming out tonight. I know there's good things you guys are doing on the ground there and working with people, and that's a need. It's a need that you're able to address. And in the future, hopefully we'll maybe have an opportunity to help you address some of those needs as well. But that's something that I know this board wants to take care of the people. And we've had the crisis for a while, and a lot of things going on in the beginning with Dix, and it's continuing. And we want to continue taking care of people as they're facing some things that no one ever wakes up in the morning and says, today's the day I want to be addicted. It just doesn't happen like that. We appreciate everybody coming out tonight and sticking with us. Thanks, and have a great evening.
Thank you. I'm going to say what none of the rest of you have said.
Good night.
Time to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you.